On this episode of Exactly How, we're going to show you how to build a portfolio of rental properties part-time and how to get all of the funding you need to build a rental portfolio on this episode of Exactly How.
You're listening to the Exactly How podcast, where you'll hear the underground, closely guarded wealth building secrets of successful people around the globe. Discover exactly how to improve your mental, physical, and financial health. Feel better, make more money, live, give, and prosper in today's exciting, fast-paced world filled with opportunity for those who know exactly how.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Connected Investors podcast and YouTube show, Exactly How. During this episode, you're going to discover exactly how to build a rental portfolio part-time. For those of you who are new, my name is Ross Hamilton, today's host and CEO of ConnectedInvestors.com. And today we have the privilege to learn from a man who has successfully built a nice portfolio of rental properties part-time while also serving in the service. Prior to his career in real estate, he was a pilot in the Marines, a military helicopter instructor, and is currently an airline pilot. His whole trajectory of his life changed after hearing stories of family members who were able to retire early on their real estate investments. I describe our guest as a very perceptive person, and today he's going to explain exactly how to build a portfolio of rental properties part-time. His name is Eric. Eric, how are you today?
Great. Thanks for having me on the show, Ross.
Yeah, this is really exciting. Well, I stumbled across your book, and we wanted our team to reach out to you to see how you've been able to build this nice passive income through real estate part-time while also serving in the military. So thank you for your service.
Hey, thank you. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, before we dive into exactly how to build and fund a portfolio of properties, Eric, you contribute a lot of your success to surrounding yourself with great people and intentionally seeking environments where great people will challenge you and help you to grow. Why do you think this has played such a big role in your success?
I think like iron sharpens iron is the old saying that we've heard a lot of times, right? And so it's really important to be intentional about who you're surrounding yourself with. I've also heard you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with, including yourself. And so the more you're intentional about spending time with people that are already where you want to be or are clearly on the path to where you want to be, you can't help but get swept up into that. And so I think that's a big thing where I've been really blessed to have positive influences in my life from parents to early peer groups to later on professional peer groups. And now with passive real estate investors, getting surrounded by some of them, like we were talking about briefly before the show in a local investing club, and having them pour into my life and be able to grow a little bit more. And that's why I pushed out some of the lessons I've learned on my YouTube channel and also on the book that you were referencing on Amazon.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, that's really good advice. And it's not just your wealth. It's the people that you hang out with, your wealth, health, and happiness. Look at the people that are around you. How healthy are they? How wealthy are they? And how happy are they? You'll see that you are the sum of those people. So that is a really important fact that most of us know, but it's important just to kind of keep reminding yourself about that so you can be intentional with the people that you surround yourself with. Well, great. For those of you who are new, what makes the Exactly How Financial Freedom podcast very different is every show comes with a detailed action plan. We're going to pull all the steps out of our guest's head and create a blueprint for you that you can find at exactlyhow.com. All of the show notes, any of the resources that are mentioned, like our guest's YouTube channel, all of that stuff will be found at exactlyhow.com. And when you visit that site, you can also throw your name into the hat to win our $3,000 pre-MLS software, which points out the most highly motivated sellers across the United States so you can purchase properties at rock bottom prices. If you're watching this on YouTube Live or on Facebook Live, go to exactlyhow.com right now, throw your name into the hat because we're going to give away one of these softwares in just a few moments. So I'm really excited for everyone that's on the line here because everyone wants that passive income. If you want passive income, will you give us like a thumbs up? Will you comment? Will you engage with us in some way throughout this show? Because that's really the light at the end of the tunnel, right? To have more coming in than you have going out. So we're talking about portfolios. Would you mind just kind of defining for people that are brand new what a portfolio is and what a portfolio loan is, kind of at a high level?
Absolutely. Yeah. So portfolio, as we're talking about, as you're building your passive income, a lot of times you'll start with single family residences. As you go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 5 to more, eventually you're going to surpass that 5 unit threshold that most more traditional mortgages are going to cover. And so once you've passed that 5 unit threshold, then you're looking at other loan products that are available to you. So that portfolio, when we're talking about the properties, that's that group of over 5 units for the portfolio of properties. Now, when we're talking about the portfolio loan, we're still using the same word portfolio, but to the lender, that has a different connotation. To the lender, that portfolio loan means they're going to keep a loan inside their portfolio or inside their bank. So while you as the investor are talking about your portfolio of homes, which are the assets that are producing income for you, the lender is talking about their loan portfolio, which those loans are the assets producing income for them. So we want to think about those two different things a little bit separately. And then to take those all the way up to the top of the pyramid, if you will, that would be a commercial loan. So it's a commercial loan product. And so it may have slightly different rules than your traditional mortgage.
Gotcha. Thank you for kind of breaking that down for us. And actually, what I'm going to do for everyone that's on the line here is when you visit exactlyhow.com and review the show notes and all the resources we're going to mention, I'm actually going to give you the book right here that I wrote, The Insider's Guide to Funding Real Estate Investments. We talk about portfolio loans in this book. You can go ahead and you don't have to buy it for $20 at Barnes & Noble or Amazon. You can go ahead and download that for free. And Eric, actually, during this episode, I have a really weird prop with me. And it is actually, what do you see on the screen there?
Nice. Looks like cash to me.
How much cash was that? Take a guess.
Oh man, I don't know.
This much.
Yeah. Handfuls.
$80,000. We just shot a commercial for privatelenders.com where we connect people with private money, and we used cash as a prop. You know, I had to call 3 days in advance to get this cash.
I'll bet, yeah.
And they're going to charge me $240 to redeposit the cash after I'm done with this podcast. But anyway, it was fun to have around the office. That's been, I have a lot of trustworthy people here at Connected Investors. And for those of you who are listening, you need to go ahead and visit our YouTube channel. You can actually see our guys flying around on Segways in the back there, or whatever the heck that is. But make sure to watch us on YouTube as well, because you can see some things that you just can't quite experience when you're listening on the podcast. So I just wanted to, I'm going to be holding this money throughout the presentation. So Absolutely. I just wanted to kind of let you know why I have all of this cash here. It's pretty magnetic, I'll tell you that much. All right. So let's go ahead and jump into this. We defined portfolio loans and kind of what that means. You said something I just want you to kind of elaborate on, that traditional lenders and traditional banks don't really do portfolio loans once you have more than 5 or 6 properties. Can you just elaborate on that? Maybe talk about debt to income ratios and how you kind of break free from that?
Yeah, absolutely. So a portfolio loan will be specifically for 5 or more properties. So like the sub 5 property loans will be like your traditional mortgages. And then as you're moving into larger portfolios or commercial real estate products, that's when you're going to be looking for a commercial loan product. And so what you're alluding to with like debt to income ratios, loan to value ratios, and your overall cash flow is largely what the bank's going to be looking at when they're talking about project cash flow and when they're talking about global cash flow for you as an investor. And so I think we'll be getting into that when we talk about steps. But one of the reasons those are important is because with your up to 5 properties, if when you bought your first home on a traditional 30-year mortgage with a 30-year amortization, the bank was just looking at the appraised value of the property, and then they were looking at you as an individual. Can you as an individual pay for this property, and does this property appraise against comparable sales in the market? Whereas now we're going to be looking at the actual income that portfolio produces, because the bank is now looking at it as a commercial loan. Although they'll have to take into some residential appraisal standards when they loan on it, they're going to want to know, like, when you talk about loan to value ratio, what is this property appraised at, vice what are we lending? And there's a couple different things that they'll look at inside that.
So let me just ask a question that might be on some of our viewers' mind. Does the bank care more about the loan to value or the cash flow that's coming in? Let's say it's 100% loan to value, but it's cash flowing well.
Right.
How does that kind of play a role? What does the bank want to see?
So a lot of misinformation that you see on the internet, a lot of times you'll see that they want to see cash flow. However, loan to value is actually very important when you're talking to specifically small local lenders. This is something I was surprised by because I thought that the bank wanted to see my cap rate. They were going to want to see that the project was cash flowing, and they wanted to see, how I'd optimize my maintenance expenses over time to finance the property. But surprisingly, every single lender was mostly concerned with loan to value ratio. Despite what I'd seen on the internet. So loan to value ratio is extremely important. And then it's also important whether it's a first purchase or whether it's a refinance, because you'll see disparate terms in both of those as well.
Great. I'm excited to kind of break some of this down. And you do a lot of your stuff with the banks, right? But what's kind of happened, because the banks suck at so many things, and it's their fault, not their fault. They have to meet certain guidelines. Banks have done a good job at not falling back into the old ways that caused the initial recession. But there's like a parallel banking industry with the private and hard money lenders that are out there. And a lot of those individuals have been coming to us over at privatelenders.com and at connectinvestors.com. And they started to offer some portfolio loans to real estate investors at very, very competitive rates. So just FYI, the industry is evolving to make portfolio loans even better. And they don't, these type of lenders, they care a lot about loan to value and also cash flow. But no matter what you're doing, buying at the right price is probably the most important thing that you can do to become a dream for a lender.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and break down these steps. I lost my notes, so why don't you go ahead and pick up from where you're an expert at. Step number 1 on this process is?
Right. So I'd say the first thing that you want to do is check your project cash flow. Right. So one thing that every lender is going to ask, whether it's like you're talking about private money groups or an individual bank, they're going to want to know what is the project cash flow. So we need to look at historic. So it depends if it's a new purchase or a refinance too. So let's say we're talking about a new purchase. So the project cash flow isn't going to be very well established because you're buying it for the first time from somebody else. But so for a refinance, all my stuff is in QuickBooks, right? So you can look at the last 3 years. How is this portfolio of homes that I'm specifically refinancing right now? I'm in the middle of a refinance right now. How has this project been operating for the last 3 years? You can see maintenance, you can see vacancy rates, you can see all of that stuff. So the lender wants to know not just how is it cash flowed the last year, which is very strong. They want to see the last 2-3 years of how it's been cash flowing, right? So the fact that it had real strong cash flow this last year doesn't necessarily reflect on the previous 3.
So let me a few things I heard between the lines there, Eric, is when you're buying a portfolio of properties, the more organized that seller has been, the better.
Absolutely.
And when you are selling a portfolio of properties, the more organized you are, the higher you'll be able to charge. Because if you're buying from an operator who has been dealing in cash, right, or hasn't been doing a good job really documenting things, then it's going to be really tough. You're going to have to come with a lot more cash to the table to be able to purchase that. And it's going to be a tougher purchase.
Absolutely.
And so is there anything else you want to talk about as far as optimizing the project, the cash flow?
Mm-hmm. I think those are the big things. I think that's where one of the things where you're talking about with private groups that plug for what you're doing. When you're talking about private groups, you're much more able to communicate a forecasted cash flow than you will be able to with a traditional lender. So one thing where I've been working with traditional lenders, I have to show a very regulated cash flow over the last 3 years, mm-hmm. which is probably getting me some great rates, but those that you may not be able to get from individuals that are helping you. But on the flip side, it's much easier to start out with something like what you're talking about, because my first loan, I didn't have a history of dozens of rental properties that I'm trying to get financed where I could show sustained project cash flow over years. Whereas with a group of investors, that are looking to loan me money, I would have been able to finance a portfolio much earlier than I had the way that I was doing it, and I'm still doing it. So
Yeah,
the plug for what you're doing there with the private.
absolutely. It's kind of like a parallel banking industry that's being built around the inefficiencies and the slowness of the banks. Um, so let me, before we dive into any more of the, nuts and bolts of, portfolio loans and building up a portfolio, um, how much time, do you dedicate on a, weekly or monthly basis to your real estate investing business?
500 hours a year.
500 hours a year.
Yeah,
I like how you knew that number like instantly.
yeah.
All right. So you got 52. So you basically 8-9 hours a week, roughly.
I'd say that's fair.
Yeah. So basically, let's just call it one day of work a week, and you're building up a phenomenal retirement for you and or for future generations.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
this is really the most important part of what I want you guys to take away from this. No matter how busy you are, you can find a handful of hours here or there to go out and do this. Right? Money is not necessarily an issue anymore like it used to be. It's all about being able to, find the properties and understand the properties. And, really, I would say, Eric, it's just about finding the time to do it, because every step in this process is easy.
Yep.
You just have to do it. So anyway, just a little push to get you guys out there so you can start having cash flow coming in each and every month. So outside of the step one, which was optimize, you talked about strengthening the
Yep.
global cash flow. Can you
Yep.
explain what that means?
Absolutely. So strengthening global cash flow is the next most important thing, because lenders are not just going to look at the project, but they also want to know who's behind the project.
Mhm.
So they want to get invasive into your life and say, hey, how is your personal cash flow? Because it could be very easy, especially once you have a portfolio, to refinance it because you're personally hemorrhaging cash, or because you're personally making poor decisions and you're trying to cover up for that with lending. So that's where having disciplined personal life comes into play. So what is your personal debt to income ratio? How indebted are you? How much of your monthly income is going out to debt servicing? So don't lose sight of that, while you're strengthening your project or your portfolio, your rehabs, whatever you're working on to get into passive income with real estate. Also make sure that you're paying attention to your personal life to make sure your global cash flow is strong, because for example, these loans, although they don't report to my personal credit, they report to my business. I am vouching for them personally. So the bank wants to ensure that personally I have strong global cash flow.
So let me ask you a question. When you first started, this question might be actually a little bit too personal, but around how much were you making a year roughly before you start? I want people to understand that you don't have to be making, millions of dollars a year. Maybe you were
No,
to get started in this.
no, that's totally fair. So my first job out of college, which is what I bought my first house on, I was making $30,000 a year at Walmart before I joined the Marine Corps.
Do you know what you're looking at right here?
That's what's that, like a year's income right there?
That's $30,000. This is how much you're making. You're making
Like
this much a year.
half a handful, right?
Yeah, exactly. half a handful, quarter of a handful. Yeah. So it's tough to live just on this. And you were like, you know what? You said your relatives that you knew started making good passive money in real estate, and that's what got you into it.
Yeah, absolutely. They were school teachers their whole life. So notoriously underpaid for overworked profession, right? And they did that their entire life, and but retired very well. And clearly, their retirement was not from teachers' money.
Yeah,
So
exactly. I mean, think about it. If you're a teacher, for any teacher out there, I mean, you have, dare I say, you have extra time in the summer if you're working that route. And teachers, I don't know how much you make per hour, but this is about how much a real estate investor makes an hour. Roughly $10,000 an hour whenever I look at my real estate investing kind of ROT, return on time. And it's it's a good place to be. And we all have a personal responsibility to ourselves to make sure we have a side hustle, to make sure we have retirement. We can't rely on anyone else. I mean, the great thing about you being in the Marines is you actually have a nice nice retirement coming to you if you stay in for another little while.
Absolutely.
But that's not enough. You got to
Right.
keep it going.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. All right, great. So making sure that we are strengthening our global cash flow. Now let's talk about number 3, which is a really interesting one, and you've kind of touched on this a few times. But network intentionally.
Right.
Actually, I'm sorry, Eric. I have to interrupt you because I have to announce the winner of our pre-MLS software that basically finds you deals. We talked about how the number one thing is finding deals. This software basically finds deals for you. And Eric, actually, we just tied it in with Alexa, so you can actually talk to this software. It's really cool. You can go to exactlyhow.com and watch a little demo on it. But the winner of the $3,000 software, they watched our podcast, watched our YouTube video, they liked our stuff, they engaged with us. They went to exactlyhow.com, threw their name into the hat, and now they're winning. And this person's name is... Before we move on, here's a word from our sponsor.
Looking for a private money partner to fund your flips or rentals? Go direct to the source. PrivateLenders.com, a free marketplace that instantly matches you with up to 5 private money lenders to save thousands by having non-bank lenders compete to be your funding partner. PrivateLenders.com.
Jacob Stockton. Jacob, congratulations. We'll get you all set up with the pre-MLS software. Our team will be reaching out to you. Thank you for being such a loyal listener of everything that we're doing here. Okay, Eric, we're getting back to it. Actually, this is some software you might want to use, huh?
Absolutely. It sounds super interesting.
Yeah, I'll go and shoot you over a login after this. You just gotta let me know what you think of it.
All right. Absolutely.
All right, great. So let's talk about networking intentionally. Eric, go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, I think it goes back to what we were talking about, how, it's not just your wealth, but also your health and general happiness. But networking intentionally is what opened up a lot of doors for me. Like we were talking before the show, I bought my first rental properties kind of on my own, going it alone, reading things online, finding books, and being self-taught. But then getting actively engaged in an investor group was when I first started really being surrounded by other people who were doing the same and different things, but everybody was making money in real estate in some capacity, whether it be wholesaling, buy and hold, flipping, and being surrounded by those people on a weekly basis and getting some feedback from what they were doing, and actually looking into my life and seeing what I was not doing that I should be doing was pretty transformative. That's when I realized that I needed to be connected with an accountant. I needed to be connected with a good lawyer, and I needed to get some other people in my life that I was paying to help me, move to the next level. And so that intentional networking wasn't just about going out and finding somebody to pay money to take me to the next level, but it was about surrounding myself with good people who could give me good guidance and then also point you in the right direction, So through that networking, I was able to find my accountant, who I actually knew through social networks too. His sister and I graduated high school together. I found out later afterwards, so there was a lot of social connection there. We have a lot of mutual friends. And then by getting plugged in with him and him taking a look at my project cash flow and my global cash flow, and really digging into the books, he was able to connect me with banks that were interested in carrying my portfolio in a loan. And so the reason I say the intentional networking too is because a lot of things are very social, although we'd like to think that it's just this hey, just throw these numbers together. As long as these numbers are right, people are going to come banging on your door, right? But there's a social component to it too. Whereas I had friends who had similar numbers, similar prospects, and by going it alone, they had to contact over 30 banks before they were finally able to get financed. By networking intentionally with a extremely qualified CPA who was well known to everybody in the area, he was able to immediately connect me with a lender that was looking for exactly this type of asset to finance right now. Because that's something that was foreign to me. I didn't realize, I didn't think about it, but banks have different things they need to finance too. Maybe they've got too many. I mean, I'm sure this is pedantic if a banker's listening to this, but maybe they've got too many fast food restaurants, or they have too many, office spaces, and they need more residential. By having somebody who knows what different people are looking for at the time, they're able to make that connection a lot better.
Yeah, you know, what I really heard is this intentional networking is kind of how you fill in the gaps,
Mhm.
right? There's always
Yep.
going to be that, you know, I have this, but don't have that. I have that, but don't have this. And when you're out there, you're intentionally networking, you're surrounding yourself with other people that are in the business. It really increases your chance for success. That's why, Eric, in a lot of our, you know, webinars and trainings that we do, I just really try to grab people and just shake them by the shoulders and tell them to join groups, find someone to invest with. Instead of getting together with your buddies every Sunday to watch football, you know, maybe do that, but also get together every Thursday and, you know, invest in real estate together, right? Like do something productive. What does your life look like after 12 months of doing that, right?
Mhm.
You get together once a week with your buddy and watch football for 12 months. What does your life look like? And maybe you gained a little weight, right? Good small talk at the water cooler. But if you got together with your buddy and you did real estate every day for 12 months, you know, where your life is 12 months down the line is just completely and totally different. And it's a team sport. You know, it's
Mhm.
like
Absolutely.
you're by yourself, but you're with other people. It's a really fun way to engage with the community and to make friends and, you know, and have fun.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, great. This has been, so anything else that you want to speak on as far as getting portfolio loans? Any questions I forgot to ask you before we move into the next segment of this YouTube show and podcast?
No, I think that's the big thing. You know, make sure that the project's strong. It sounds simple. Make sure the project's strong. Make sure you're personally strong, and make sure you're connected to the right people. While each of those are very simple to understand, it's the execution. So the devil's in the details.
Yeah. And you know what? It's great to be able to buy a lot of properties at the same time. So many people think they have to do 1, 2, 3, 4, when you can go in and just buy 10. Or there's there's a gentleman here right in Wilmington, North Carolina. He was a average real estate investor, and then he bought a property portfolio of 100 properties.
Mhm.
Now he's on his way to have 500 properties because he likes to buy, you know, 25 to as many as he can at a time. So, you know, you can skip straight to the top if you want. And with portfolio lending and understanding how to buy portfolios, that's the best way to do it. So, Eric, let me ask you a question. What do you think your life would be like if you never got into real estate?
I think I would have been a lot more defensive with a lot of my life choices. For one, I definitely wouldn't have been able to leave the security of flying in the military for flying for the airlines, which is a very traditionally cyclical business. So having the security of knowing that passive cash flow, that equity and wealth has been built up there, allows me to pursue things that I'm personally interested in. It also allows me to I didn't like the Marine Corps is definitely a part of me at this point, and so giving it up totally wasn't something I wanted to do. So it also allowed me to continue to serve in the reserves, which is also traditionally not a super lucrative option, but it allows me to continue doing that. And so I think my life would definitely be a lot more defensive and have a lot less flexibility had I not ventured out and started investing in buy and hold rental properties.
Yeah, well, that's great. And I hear that you went on some great vacations to Spain and Switzerland.
Yeah,
Is that what you do? You travel around and
absolutely. Yeah. So we were able to go and see, my aunt did a lot of genealogy and saw where our family came from in Switzerland. So that was cool a couple of years back to get to go and spend some time and actually, you know, see where we had come from. So that was pretty neat. And we enjoy, you know, just traveling around. Went out to San Diego last week, was up in, you know, Chicago 2 weeks ago. So it definitely allows a lot more flexibility.
yeah. Yeah, I think everyone on the line here would definitely agree with that. So, do you have any time to go over the rapid fire section of this podcast?
All right. Tell
All
me
right,
the rules.
you ready? I'm just going to ask you a question. Just the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
All right. On a scale of 1 to 10, how strict were your parents?
9.
Wow. Get up early or stay up late?
Early.
How many hours of sleep do you get?
6.5.
Favorite or most recent book that you read?
Ooh, Outliers.
If you could be any superhero, who would it be?
Superman.
What is something everyone should do less of?
Waste time.
What is something everyone should do more of?
Be intentional with their time.
Bitcoin, bang or bust?
Ooh, bust.
All right. And will people visit Mars in your lifetime?
Yes.
All
For
right.
sure.
Yeah, we're gonna get there. I hear they're actually selling one-way tickets to Mars.
Nice.
If you want to go ahead and Google that one, it's a very interesting project. They can't promise they can get you back, but they can try to get you there.
Nice.
Well, great. Hey, thanks so much for taking the time with all of us on the show here today.
Well, thanks so much, Ross. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. All right. For everyone who is still on the line, if you're watching this on YouTube, you're just mesmerized by what I'm holding right here. You made it to the end of the show. You're one of those rare people that can actually finish what you started. It means that you found some real value here in what Eric and I were sharing, and you're getting inspired. You were pumped. You're so glad we're giving you free gifts at exactlyhow.com, and we're providing all of this free value. All we ask is for a little interaction. So give us a thumbs up, a like, a share, tag someone you know that needs to listen to this. Share this with your family and your friends, right? That buddy that you want to do real estate with. Share this with them and say, hey, listen to this and let's go ahead and talk, right? Again, thank you so very much for being a listener of the show, and please interact with us. Make sure to visit exactlyhow.com because you can go ahead and get the free gift from this show, but we have dozens and dozens of shows with dozens and dozens of great free gifts. So scroll through the archive and just put this in your daily, your daily habits. Like every Tuesday, make sure you listen to the Exactly How podcast and make sure to take action. So thanks again for being here. I'll talk to you in the next show.
The Connected Investors app connects you with investors, notifies you of available properties, helps locate cash buyers, and secure private funding to close deals. Set up in seconds to become a member of the Connected Investors social network. Now you can scroll through your main feed to find cash buyers, see investment properties not available to the general public, and network with investors by adding your own comments to a thread to keep the conversation going. The Control Center is your connection to add properties to sell, start new discussions, connect with local investors, and even find private funding. The Notifications tab will keep you alerted to new investment properties and offers. You'll also find new friend requests to connect directly with the community to build your network. From the property marketplace, you'll be able to find, favorite, and make offers on investment properties. Download Connected Investors today to find, figure, fund, and flip investment properties on the go.